If you give it the indication, please.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you, Lord, giving you all the praise, honor, and glory, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this county. Thank you, Lord, for the people that's representing this county. Pray, Heavenly Father, Lord, you just be with us as we conduct this meeting, Lord, that it be pleasing unto you, Lord, and that all things we do, Lord, are within your will. These things we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, have the approval of the agenda. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Janone.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, approval of the minutes from November the 6th. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And and all those opposed? Clerk, if you could just show me to the form only, I was absent in November. Commissioner Janone conducted that meeting. Recognition of the public, we have one sign up, Brad Williams. Come up and state your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Brad Williams, 1916 Highway 31W in White House. Today I'm representing Volunteer Fire Department. I know when y'all met in November, we were taking off the agenda items as a permanent thing for our monthly reports. And I'd like to ask to be put back on the agenda, if at all possible. I realize there was a liability issue, was a conversation. We all understand that. It could be as simple as putting us back on the permanent agenda, but as not a request, but just an option. If we wanted to come, which we will be here every month to do it, it has to be required. If we so say, being the volunteer fire department or the fifth leg in emergency services in this county, we do so much that I think that the public and y'all should be informed about every bit of it, because we like that transparency. And you need to know where your money is being spent, and also how it's being spent, and where we could use more help, or where we have things handled. When you get to hear what kind of calls we're having every month, whether we're first in the ambulance, it'd be nice to get some other information to you. That's like what our maintenance cost is, just for you to have the ability and awareness of that, because we do serve this county just like everybody else does. And I think it'd be a great thing for y'all to have. And again, it makes it public for everybody else. And so we would gladly volunteer that information without being forced by any means. So if we could do that, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right. Report of the chairman, I'll reserve my comments probably until the end. Report of the county mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief report, one on the ECC director's position. We have extended an offer to a gentleman out of Florida. He has countered that offer, so we're in the process of either accepting, rejecting, or modifying his counter. So the executive committee is working on that. I just wanted to keep you up to speed. Mr. Guthrie is still serving as the interim in the meantime. Also, discussion on the Goodlettsville ambulance service. Right now, and Chief Potts can speak more to this when we get to it, but right now I just wanted to make the committee aware that our focus per the ARPA funds is to rebuild the Westmoreland station, and then to build a White House station, which will need to be built and staffed, which would require at least 6 new paramedics and EMTs. And then also we're going to have to look at, eventually we're going to have to look at the Gallatin area. That would be third on the list, putting a full-time ALS shift out at the main complex. That was taken away years ago, but as growth develops out in that area, we're going to need to look at that, and that's another 6 paramedics, EMTs. So just to bring you up to speed on that, in our talks with Goodlettsville, they're at least 2 years out on this project. Of course, with that project, we'll also require 6 new paramedics, EMTs, and we all know the market where it is now. Trying to staff what we have is a challenge. So with that information out there, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Report of the sheriff. I don't believe there's anyone here for that. Report of EMA. Emergency management. He's asleep. Got it where it's warm.
Mr. Chairman, Commission. So it's just an update. I'm going to go over some of the same things that we, from the original presentation, that we went under a tornado watch that morning at 11:35, and then at 4:30 the EOC was activated. 4:36 the warning was issued for Sumner, and then at 4:39 we had a touchdown on I-24 north of Nashville. At 4:50 a tornado entered Sumner County. Then a tornado emergency was issued by the Weather Service, and then another warning was issued following that to give additional information to those out in front of the tornado. Tornado was on the ground for 29.84 miles in the county. The widest part was 400 yards. And as we said earlier, luckily we had no fatalities and just a few injuries. In the work since then, the damage assessments that were done, the declaration that was received, we began working with FEMA, with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, with different groups, federal groups, to get all the help that our citizens and businesses need across the county in the affected areas. And we're still working on that. The Public Works and Utilities Departments are still working on getting vegetative debris and C&D, construction and demolition debris up. And we started the process for reimbursement for emergency protective measures, as well as debris removal and everything that's associated with that on the public assistance side for our municipalities, for the county and for the municipalities. To date, we have 43 people who have signed up for assistance through the DRC or through the Small Business Administration. And we'll decide probably within the next week as to how long the DRC's, Disaster Recovery Centers, and SBA will be operating. So we're not getting a lot of people in, and we've done as much as we can do to push that information out on social media, on 24517. We've gone, the FEMA has gone door to door, talking to people in the affected areas to make them aware of what's available. And so that piece of it's about to wind down, and we'll work for several months going forward on the reimbursement piece.
I applied. I went over there in Gallatin and talked to FEMA and applied and talked to them about the SBA, and they talked to me about it, and I got a letter in the mail. So
Good.
they did come to my house, but I already talked to them about what transpired. So they did go door to door in my area. They did.
Did you say they did?
Sorry?
Did you say they did or did?
They did.
Yeah, they did. They have told us that they've been the entire 29.84 miles.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And all this is able to be done under the hazardous mitigation plan, right?
No, this is under the federal declaration.
Gotcha. But we was able to work together with the agreement of the hazard mitigation plan.
That'll come into play. Hazard mitigation, so there'll be funding from this put forward to hazard mitigation for projects that may want to be done after that.
Gotcha.
And that's common in every declared disaster we have. Funding is put aside for mitigation projects for communities that were affected by disasters.
So I have a question just for timeline, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I should have probably give you a heads up. But if the hazard mitigation plan hadn't been put in place or passed in, I think we passed it in November, would we have still been able to have this coverage that we had in December? Probably.
Probably so, yeah, because the plan was written, and quite honestly, FEMA drug their feet on getting it back to us. They extended the timeline that they are allotted to get the plan back to us to go up for approval. So we're good, we're okay.
So, but we as the county did our part
Yeah, the county did.
by
that.
submitting it in
Yeah.
May, and
Right.
then the feds is what drug their
Yeah.
feet, so to speak, for a November approval.
Yes, sir, we're
Okay.
okay.
I just want to make sure we was okay on that. Yes, sir.
I'm glad you clarified that, because wasn't it stated earlier that we had not approved in a timely manner?
That's why I just asked those questions.
Yeah, I was confused as to why that was said. I can't remember who said it, but it really painted the commission in a bad light for not doing their part. And there was no correction made until just now, so I appreciate that.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I was remembering that right. But I had a question, not a question, a suggestion and a request, yes, a question. Going forward on your emails, and in any paperwork you submit, could you please put the, any kind of acronym spelled out before you put the acronym? Because I did not know what
You're
SBA
a
or
smart-
DRC was
You're a
until
smart,
tonight.
you're a smart man.
Well, if you Google
And-
those, you could.
No,
find some
yes, I
strange
am.
things.
So, let me give a little story on acronyms. I served on a service assessment team with the National Weather Service, NWS. And, the NOAA, we went to Buffalo, or to Boulder, Colorado, and the National Climactic Center and all, they have a book for their acronyms.
I'm sure.
They do. It's quite mind-boggling, the number of acronyms they've got.
Well, I've made that request several times since I've been a commissioner, and I could go on for an hour with acronyms and nobody in this room would understand.
That's the
about
first
my
time.
job.
That's the first time I've heard it, but you won't have that
You're
problem.
a new
anymore.
one, so yeah, the first time.
No, I've been here for 42 years, so
Yeah, so,
so
but just for everybody, if we could
so
all do that,
so
it'd help.
typically, what I do is I say I spell out Emergency Operations
First
Center and then
time.
put EOC in parentheses,
Right.
and from there on out, it's like here and
Perfect.
after referred to as.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I don't say here and after referred to, but yeah.
The other thing was just a suggestion. I know the first week after the tornado, WTN radio station was putting out information also about disaster relief efforts, the Chamber of Commerce and the Sumner County United Way. That information that I got from them, and I think you had been talking with them. They told me that you were putting out the information, but I pushed that up to them just personally. But
You say
I would
WTN?
suggest WTN radio station for the first week. They were
Yeah.
doing it as I was asking them to do
Right.
it, but you may reach out to some of the radio stations, because I know a lot of people.
Well, I do
get their information in the car.
WHIN and WQRK.
But like the big
and
ones.
I can add
Maybe
any
like 103 or
syndicates
107 or
Yeah.
some of the big ones.
The radio stations really don't like to push a lot of stuff out, because I've talked to them before.
Okay.
When I say that, the ones that play music primarily and they don't have talk shows.
Well, the
So-
top one was,
Yeah, and I can
They
add
would
them, I can reach out to them and I can
Sure.
add them, because I've got an email group of media that includes local news and radio and things.
I know it would mean a lot more coming from a government entity
Yes, sir.
than
Yeah,
just
I
an
can do that.
individual,
I can do
but they
that.
are willing to do stuff like
Mhm.
that. So just a suggestion.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And pass that on to Mickey and all the group. We appreciate y'all's work.
I shall, thank you.
EMS?
Hello. First page there, I think everybody's got one of my packets. First page there is just the November and December call volume broken down per station, so you can see those run numbers. The second page is the monthly totals for calls versus transports for November and December. Third page there is our revenue. November is in blue. If you can see that number, my eyes are kind of bad, and I realize that black on blue kind of blends, but anyway, it is over $1 million. So it was another very good month in November. December was not bad at 819,000. So year to date right now for revenue is just a little over $4 million. So that is trending right along that we should meet our projections for our revenue. And then the last report there is ran from CAD, and it is just a breakdown of all the all the calls that we ran in December per call type. Anything
I have a
else?
question.
Yes.
So, I appreciate the revenue numbers.
Mhm.
What is your net number when you net out your expenses?
I'll have to get that for you.
Because I've been inquiring a lot. I just wonder how our expenses running.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to get that for you.
Okay, can you,
So I don't know it right off the top of my head. I apologize, but I could look it up and see if I can find it for you.
do you have a ballpark?
I do not. Because I don't want to quote some number and it be drastically wrong. I don't wanna just throw a dart, so I'd rather give you accurate numbers.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
The problem type, the chart for the
Mhm.
calls, there's a lot more lines than there are
Right, that,
categories.
Followed up.
yeah, it jams them all in there together. But if you, even when you look at it, John Michael, even when you look at it, when you run it, it looks like that, correct? It jams them all together. And then it breaks it all down over the next pages.
Oh,
That's the
gotcha,
actual
gotcha,
breakdown of
okay,
those.
okay. Nothing's, I was just seeing if anything was kind of out of whack, but they all, I guess if so, you mentioned it, nothing's out of
It's
the ordinary.
it's pretty typical for a EMS month. Nothing jumps out to me that's
Okay.
alarming.
I just want to make sure one of those wasn't something else and it looks
Right.
crazy high for animal bites or something like that.
Hope not.
All right.
Good,
So,
thank you, Jeff.
if I can ask you another question.
Okay.
And maybe it's in the package further in.
Uh-huh.
One of the items that I've been wondering about is the replacement schedule for our ambulances. I know the mayor alluded to that he believes that we're gonna see new needs in the future as we expand.
Mhm.
But I'd like to see a replacement list, our plan for, as our ambulances age out by age or mileage. Do you
Okay.
have that?
I know when we submitted our budget, we put in a goal, like it was a 5-year goal or a 10-year goal.
More than that, so
Yeah.
long-term needs.
Long-term needs, and we had spelled out in those for the ambulances, how our schedule was gonna be to replace those. Right off the top of my head, we'd like to try to, 2 to 3 a year, depending on funding. But as far as the mileage and stuff like that, I'd have to get that for you also.
Okay, yeah, that would be great, so we could see how it fits in with your plan. And then I assume Mr. Long has the plan from budget?
Yeah, it should be available online. It should be under the our capital report, or
Okay.
capital,
Well, I know
plan.
during budget, Mr. Long had all the information up there on the screen, and he must have flipped through about 100 different screens at
Right.
different times, so.
Yeah, in the budget packet that was on there that was approved, it should be in there.
Okay, I'll get it
for
from
our-
him.
Yeah.
If not, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
How many units do we have?
Currently, we have 24,
24 licensed ambulances.
yes, 24 licensed ambulances.
How many unlicensed?
They're not all in service every day, that includes our reserves as well.
So we have,
Oh, gotcha.
a couple that's set, ready to go if we, one tears up, we've got one that, they can immediately get into. And then we have some that are not, don't have supplies in them that we can supply, move things to if we need to for a long-term truck if something happened.
How do you feel that the 24 addresses our current and our future needs?
The ones that are off the road right now are pretty worn because of the way the supply chain has been lately with the ambulances. So as far as our long-term needs, I don't think our reserves that we have traded out of to put them into reserves would be very good to be on the front lines. One, the state requires us to do a lot more maintenance to them and everything once they get over, I think it's 200,000
miles. We have to have them PM more often. The state does not like for an emergency ambulance to go over 200,000 miles.
Right,
At
I
that
was
point,
aware
they
of that.
typically go to a convalescent, non-emergent use. So we have to keep that main fleet under 200,000 miles as a goal.
How much more is your maintenance cost for those over 200,000?
I would not have that number.
Because they do require you to have more maintenance, right?
It's more maintenance, and a lot of our true cost is absorbed with our on-site fleet management. So it just puts more work on them. And so to give you a real number compared to what they do every day, I wouldn't know how to break that out exactly.
Yeah, like, so we don't have to take those to a Ford dealership to have them done. It's
Right.
already in-house. can
Yes,
take care
I've
of
met
it.
your people there. Very nice. Two gentlemen at the time. As I recall, you had recruited them from Ford, perhaps?
Our fleet manager is Ford certified, and he has worked in multiple dealerships.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, he was very nice and he seemed very knowledgeable.
Commissioner Jones?
I know for fire departments, they have to replace fire engines too periodically, mostly because the apparatus on the fire engines and trucks wear out, tanks, pumps, gauges, things like that. So it's not worth repairing because that is the major parts of the truck. With ambulances, the major parts other than supplies, it seems like would be the engine transmission. Is there any programs that does any refurbishment of ambulances for like engine replacements and transmissions? How long can you keep one of those going past the 200,000 if you just swap out the drivetrain?
So we keep ours, most of our ambulances retire with between 15 and 20,000 hours on the engine. So we don't have the engine just completely break down on us, but they are worn, and it's well over $20,000 just to replace them.
Right.
An engine in one. So we actually had last year one that was involved in a crash, and so we looked at just remounting or repairing, and it was almost the cost of a new ambulance. Manufacturers do not want to remount old stuff on new stuff.
Old stuff meaning what?
Say, take a box off an ambulance box and put on a new chassis.
Yeah, so taking like a 2018 ambulance and taking that box off that was built in 2018 and then putting it on a 2024 ambulance, they don't like to do that.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just replace the engine and transmission, keep the box, keep the frame, everything else on it. Other than tires, that's the wearable parts on an ambulance. They don't have pumpers and,
They have
water
lots of
hoses
moving
and
parts.
things like that.
We recently visited Horton, and if you saw the electronics that go through those deals, there's a lot in there. There's vacuum pumps, there's suction, oxygen lines, all that stuff starts to deteriorate and wear away over the years as well with the amount of use that they get.
So there is no company that refurbishes stuff like
That's
that?
that kind of stuff, no. They would just rather rebuild you an ambulance.
What is the cost of a new ambulance? $200,000-300,000?
I think our latest bid is about $274,000 for a new ALS ambulance. The smaller transits that we use for convalescent are about $130,000.
Again, with the acronyms, just for public record and for myself, I'm not gonna play smart. What is ALS?
ALS is the bigger ambulances that make the 911 calls.
What does that stand for?
ALS is Advanced Life Support.
Okay, versus, what's the other kind?
Basic life support.
BLS,
So our
small
ALS,
ambulance.
you have a
Van
paramedic on the
style,
ambulance.
Van type versus
Yes.
truck box type.
Currently, we're using those Sprinter type vans
Mhm.
for our BLS.
Gotcha.
But an ALS truck has a paramedic on it. And then a BLS truck has an EMT, AEMT or EMT combination.
Okay. All right, thank you.
How many in-service units do we have?
Currently, we run 13 ALS trucks every day, and we have one that if we don't have any call-outs and everybody's there, then that one truck can be up. But we have 5 BLS trucks that are run every day.
Now, what about the units in the stations?
Every station has one truck in it, except Station 6. It has 2 trucks. Station 1, our main station, does not have an ALS truck, but that's where the 5 BLS trucks are housed.
And as these age, they are, I'm assuming, kicked back to the reserve. We don't buy new ambulances for the reserve units?
No, sir. No, sir. We take the best units that are coming off the road. They're gone through by our mechanics and our fleet manager, and find the best one, and that's kind of rotate those around.
It's
And I'm
typically about
not-
8 to 10 years before one ages out with us or rotates out.
So you got the 6 for reserves.
And I would never in this world propagate this, but I'm just curious. Has there ever been any discussion of electric vehicles?
I don't think they make an electric ambulance that I'm aware of right now.
Probably too much demand. though.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There's a lot of
lights and
electronics.
electrical.
Yeah, I don't even know, you might be able to make one call in it, and then it would have to probably set and charge for a while, so I don't think that would be.
Well, they're doing a lot of Army units now, so if they're doing that, it made me think that you know, I would not want to get into that. But,
Hey, you might be onto something. You might call one of these ambulance companies and work with them on that. Might be onto something.
Amount of voltage to shock a heart would probably kill one.
Hopefully our monitors wouldn't be hooked up like that.
It'd be so heavy, you wouldn't be able to move the unit.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, man. Yes.
Can I just ask if we could add to the agenda for next month, a replacement schedule, so we could discuss it in depth?
You asked for it, they'll be sure to bring it in their
Okay.
report, I'm sure.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, report of the ECC. County Mayor, are you giving that, or is that part of your report you had a while ago?
Yeah, I handed that out. It's calls for service, calls received.
I'm assuming that December, that's a large jump. I'm assuming that's tornado related, 20-something thousand extra calls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was the one event, which caused those numbers to jump.
Sure.
Other than that, everything seems to be in line.
Sure. So I'll give my report. I'm glad to say that Director Widener was here and was able to address the issue of the hazardous mitigation plan. It's my understanding there's been some questions of this committee's due diligence of passing the hazardous mitigation plan. It was put on in May, I believe it was, by the direction of, or the request of Director Widener. The idea left this committee, went to the feds. The federal government is the ones that took from May to, I believe, and Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, it was early or mid-October. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it was early, mid-October, before we actually got something in hand back from the federal government that we could actually bring to the county commission to vote on. Then that would have put us in the November era, which it was passed and passed through. So I don't want this committee to take any wrongdoings or heat of something that was not our due diligence in addressing the matter. It was actually the federal government. So that concludes my report. Under old business, it's my understanding that this was pulled, Sheriff's Office's policy and discussion, because I don't think there was ever any discussions brought through, and it's my understanding from Chief Deputy that they have went ahead and implemented that policy there, which was presented. Brings us under the old business 12B, discussion of Gilletsville ambulance service. Mayor, EMS Chief to study feasibility or with City of Gilletsville. Mayor, do you have anything else to add to that? Chief Poss, do you have anything to add? So if I'm understanding it right, we're 2 years out. I think, legal, tell me if I'm wrong here or going down a rabbit trail. I think we as this committee are charged with saying it's a good idea or it's a bad idea. And then it goes to Gen Ops, and Gen Ops is the one that says, yes, let's go forward with it, or no, don't go forward with it, or do we hold it here, do more explorations, and send them an actual plan of what we want to see them do? How should we proceed with that?
This is liable to get kicked back and forth a time or two, to be perfectly honest with you, because both of you have unanswered questions and only the other can provide. But if you feel comfortable that this committee has enough information to pass it on to Gen Ops, then I would say go ahead and do that. If you still want to field this for another month, get some more questions asked, this would be the time to kick it one more month.
Committee?
Can we do that to move to discuss, or just?
No,
we're
I
in
mean, it's
discussion
open.
now?
I mean, we can entertain a motion to discuss.
Well, I guess we're already discussing,
Yeah.
so. The question, this is about the Goodlettsville one. What about the White House one? Because
Well,
they
let's
could be
stay on
discussed.
track.
Well, this is what I'm gonna ask you. Could one affect the other one if priorities were shifted around with service areas? If this map colors moved because of where we put a new one, could it essentially push up responsibilities to another one and solve issues? Could we talk about them together for that reason? I don't know logistically if the one in Goodlettsville could affect the one in Millersville, could affect the one in White House if responsibilities got pushed up. So that's what I wanted to ask.
So from a dispatcher standpoint of sitting in the seat, all of those could affect, yes.
Okay.
And just as I talked to Commissioner Boyd on the phone, unfortunately, there's not a way that this can be true concrete zone. This truck's gonna be going to this house, this
Right,
truck's
right.
going to that. That's-
Because of the nature
I
of the
just
little
don't-
bit of
I-
overlap, yeah.
I just don't want us to get to the point where we said, Gilletsville's got 21 ambulances sitting over there, and we've got a house that's got a call loaded. I don't want us to get in that mindset of this side of the county is covered, and we've got 41 calls in the queue or whatever. I know that's drastic numbers, but yes, if you put an ambulance in, White House, and you put one down in south of that in Gilletsville, and then you rezone Millersville or whatever you choose to do there, sure, all of that can shift drastically.
So the question I have is, could you explain your knowledge of the map, or could we get somebody to explain that may know, where the one that Goodlettsville's has a potential of housing would land on the map, and where the one is being requested in White House, so we can look at that and see. kind of
White
what it
House, we
looks
don't
like.
have a location of the land yet. We don't even know where that's gonna be. We're hoping, I mean, it's, obviously it's gonna make sense. It's on this side of the border, the Sumner County side, but I don't know if it's gonna be on the northern side.
Is that the brown area here
eastern-
though?
Yeah, that's,
XRC1?
is that 8?
I might want to bring up a point of order here. This is new business as well,
Yeah,
so just so we're clear on,
yeah, we're just now discussing Gilletsville.
I just
And he's,
wanted.
yeah, and he's led into,
Exactly.
I'm trying to
other-
keep it to Goodlettsville, but I know it's gonna affect the other one.
well,
So-
yeah, it's gonna all bleed over
Yeah.
together. So let's just back up, so we don't get too muddy.
Okay.
Let's stay on Gilletsville's target. Where do we wanna go with Gilletsville? Do we wanna send it to Gen Ops, or do we wanna hold it here and obviously answer the questions that's gonna come?
I'd like to see us hold it here for another month.
Okay,
But my question is, we have a unit at Shackle Island now, do we not?
yeah,
What is the distance between Shackle Island and the Gillesville station where they're proposing?
4 miles.
4 miles? To me, that doesn't seem like it would be very justified in putting a unit in Gillesville. I mean, it seems to me like you'd want to move, if they're offering to build us a new building, move the one from Shackle Island to that area, if it's a 4 mile difference.
That's why I want to see it on the map, because if it's 3 or 4 miles and it's towards the Bethel Road, that's one thing. If it's towards the south here, I can't see roads on this map. That one has a map, and that would shift the zones. All these colors would change essentially. And I know these are loose areas per what you said, but there's overlaps. But like, I know where Commissioner Harris is talking about, but it would help to see that.
Commissioner Boyd?
So, my understanding, I believe I remember, that Goodlettsville said they would create us a bay, and they would leave it there at no cost, whether we ever use it or not, that it would be open for future use.
That's
So
right.
if
It'll
it
be
doesn't
progressive.
cost us anything, just to have it there for a possibility, I see no need to even think about it. That sounds great.
That's why I was asking, does the committee wanna hold it or send it on?
And I respect what Commissioner
I'm
Harris
just
is
trying to
saying,
figure
but,
out why we would want 2 ambulances within 4 miles of.
and if I could address that, and I don't know how ambulances
But it
work.
goes
so-
the other way though, like
It does.
Cotton Town and then
It
the other
does.
way.
So when we're moving around our ambulances, couldn't we just like set it there? I mean, that kind of sounds, I'm not in the ambulance business,
Come
but
out
if I
for
need to move
standbys.
down to that zone, I mean, I
Could
don't
be a
have to have
staging
one.
area, yeah.
Yeah, a staging area. I mean,
And-
if it's free, it's gonna be there. We don't have to use it. We can use it any day. They're building a building anyways. It seems like a no-brainer to me. What are we gonna talk about?
That's
I'm
fine,
not
you can make an
disputing the
emotion.
fact that eventually you're gonna need that because of the growth in that area. I'm
Right.
not disputing that. I'm talking about right now. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me as putting 2 ambulances that close together.
Right, but
When there's other locations in the county that we probably need an ambulance.
Sure, absolutely.
Say White House.
Didn't we
Victory.
have an ambulance in White House before years ago and then they moved out?
I don't think we've ever had an
I
ambulance.
don't, I think it's always been serviced out of the Robertson County side.
It used to be
This
at
showed
the
the house.
White House Community Volunteer Fire Department, which is a little north of its current location.
Right.
Yeah.
They're on Highway 31W.
Just south of the middle school, White House.
Because I think that when I went up there to do my research, they said the reason they weren't there anymore is that y'all didn't help pay the electric bills.
So that's in Robertson County right there?
No, it's in, Sumner Sumner.
So it is there.
It was in
It
Sumner.
was in Sumner County,
Yeah.
correct?
So this is not current? The
That's-
red dot?
That is a fire response zone, that.
This is
dot
not
a-
EMS?
No.
No.
That's a fire station,
Does it have a bay though?
yeah,
For EMS?
yeah.
No.
Well, the volunteer firehouse that was there did not have the ambulance in there, but they used to have it there a long time ago, right? Am I right?
That's correct. It was there.
Commissioner Boyd?
So, yeah, I read it in the agendas that it used to be there. And I know when I was reading the agendas. How long ago was it there?
I would say
Okay,
10
if we're gonna suspend the rules and go
Oh, I'm
outside of the
sorry.
table,
I'm
then we
sorry.
need to make the motion to suspend the rules and go out.
I'm sorry.
And,
No,
or
I
bring
was-
it back. Or we can hold it here today.
That goes back to Millersville, and we're on Goodlettsville. I'd like to
Correct.
apologize for that.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
No, we just brought it back to Goodlettsville. I'm gonna hold off until we go to White House.
I just like to, I would like to make the motion to send the Goodlettsville option by itself along, because it cost us nothing.
All right, so we've got a motion to send the idea of Goodlettsville to Gen Ops.
I'll second that.
There's a second. Any other discussion?
My question is, why does it need to go to general ops? Because if Goodlettsville's building a building, why does it need to go to general ops?
Well, who would negotiate, and I'm just asking, who would negotiate the lease agreements and all that stuff? Would that go to county property and that go between the general operations committee, or how does that work?
I have no idea what the concept is behind the land, who owns it, what the back and forth's gonna be on that, if we're providing any services, all of that's new to me. So I don't have an answer for you till I see what the proposal is.
Right.
I think it's a good idea just to go to Gen Ops, because in the future, when and if it ever is needed, they'll come back to us and say, okay, do you want to outfit it? And Gen Ops would be the place to go to start that ball rolling possibly.
2
Would
to
that be
3 years
correct?
from the way,
Yeah, whenever it
Whenever it's
happens,
done.
they would be the first point of contact, and it puts our ducks in a row for that time. This is a formality, really. You're right, it doesn't need to be now, but for the future, maybe it'd be the good, easy first place to start.
I mean, where do you suggest it goes, Commissioner Harris?
We have a county attorney. I would hope that he would be able to relay that information to us if.
Nobody's come to me with any proposal on this
Right.
whatsoever, so I'm
So
not
there's
even
really
prepared to answer.
nothing.
And that's why I said in the beginning, I think we just take the idea and say, yep, we like the idea, and we send it to Gen Ops. Then Gen Ops will reach out to Goodlettsville and say, Goodlettsville, what's your land agreement? And then that's when it'll be worked out through legal. We're just the baby stage.
Get the fine tuning through Gen Ops.
Commissioner Jones.
I'd like to suspend the rules if I don't mind and ask the chief a question.
We have to vote first.
Oh, vote, motion to
No.
go outside, sorry.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead.
I didn't hear, I had to go out for an emergency call, but did they contact you about this? They were gonna call you and talk to you about what they wanted to do?
I received a phone call from the fire chief a few months ago and said that they were in discussions about building one
Uh-huh,
and asked if there would be a potential that we would need one in the area.
yeah,
And I said, obviously, we would like to have an ambulance every 5 miles if we could have one, so
Right.
sure. And the growth in the area could support it one day.
Right.
So if they're building something now and they wanted us to be a part of it, we would definitely explore the option. So at that point, he told me it would be 2 to 3 years down the road. He did say that the initial design would include bay space and sleeping quarters for an EMS group.
so basically it's more, you're on hold waiting to see what they do,
That's correct.
correct? Okay, I'll go back to.
All right, so let's bring it
table.
back to the table, back to the rules. So, again.
Sounds like we probably just need to leave it here for another month. and
We can, and I can
find
reach out
how
to
this
City
is
of
gonna
Goodlettsville.
Materialize between now and then before we can make a definite decision.
What would be our decision though?
Well, right now, you don't know. You don't. we
And that's
don't
where I
even-
think, Commissioner
we
Harris,
don't even know.
we're just taking the idea and saying, yes, we want Gen Ops to explore the unknown, which will be getting with the City of Goodlettsville, legal.
Okay, so, okay, let's do it. Let's Send it to
I mean, it's
us.
just like we did when we asked
That's fine.
for EMS stations to be, looked at and modified, if they haven't been. It left
Hate
this
to see
committee
us
and went
turn
to
it
Gen
into
Op.
rocket science, but that's fine. Go ahead.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I think that's a good point. We're way ahead of the game, which is unusual, but we're way ahead of the game on this. And we're
Right.
just trying to get our ducks in a row, and I agree with all that. But as the more I think about this, this is really the city saying, making an offer to make an offer. They're really not even sure what they're offering yet.
Right,
So
Other than they have
just
a-
want to know, hey, you interested?
right.
And that's probably why nobody's hit me up with it, because nobody's got any
Any idea?
legitimate proposals to bring.
So where do you suggest it goes, or do we just hold it here?
Unless somebody wants to open up communication with the city, I don't know what this committee can do, or Gen Ops for that matter, because they won't even know what it is they're deciding on.
Our level of interest may depend on something that they're gonna do at the city level. That's why I don't see why it matters, as long as we just say, yeah, we're interested, it's no commitment, it's no anything other than saying we're interested, and shift it on to Gen Ops for them to talk to if they wanna talk to. We got a motion and a second on the floor, we can keep talking about it, but.
How will you know, okay, let's flip it. How will you know what is gonna be transpiring if you don't communicate with them in the next 6 months or so? How will you know that if you're not doing that?
We
Do you
won't.
just leave it, you will be in the dark, right?
Right, I mean, we're still, if it stays in this committee, I'll be the one reaching out, and if it goes to the other committee, Commissioner, or Chairman Klein, I guess, will be the one reaching out.
You might want to keep it in this committee then, because you all know what you really want at the end of
All
the day.
right, so let's hold it in this committee.
We got a motion and a second.
So do you want to withdraw?
More discussion. So does that mean we'll go ahead and actively reach out and pursue this, or are we gonna put it in
Yeah.
our business and?
That's what I said, I would reach out to them and see what they say and then bring it back.
So the motion is to keep it here for a
That's,
while?
No, no.
Okay.
She's got a motion and a second. She either has to withdraw, and I have to withdraw, or we make another motion or an amendment.
I'll withdraw, and we'll see what we can get.
we'll just hold it here.
Same.
We'll just let it roll over to the old business.
With the idea that we'll find out more.
Yeah.
May I add one additional qualifier to this discussion?
Sure.
One of the things that I don't understand, and maybe we can ask the chief that's here, is what is the desired location for an EMS? We have EMSs that are in our volunteer fire departments. We have them that are standalone. I think we have standalone. We have them that are in city fire departments. So is there a desired situation that's better? And what would we look for the future? If we're looking at White House, is that ideal? A
Let me put you on
standalone?
hold just a second, because we'll take care of that in new business.
Thank you.
All right. And then, new business, 13A is appointment of second member. It's my understanding that that's not ready to move forward, so we'll roll that to old business for next month. We'll just push that right on down the road. Now, Commissioner Boyd, go ahead.
So as we're discussing this, I just don't know what the groundwork is what we're looking for. I also don't know with the stations that we have, I don't know if they're in, what their situation are at. Are they in with the volunteer fire department? I just don't know where they're at.
All the above.
Yeah, and,
It's a lot of everything.
right. And
Location is
do we have a
prime.
list of like what, this committee have a list?
We do.
So what is the desire? As we go forward, we're gonna build this ideal thing. Are we?
Again, just as I stated earlier, I think it's one of those things that, given the situation and the location and the population that you're trying to serve, it moves. But if you have the city of Gillisville says, hey, we're willing to give you this, obviously we'll partner with the city. But if you have a house in the middle of Westmoreland that's available, and you can buy for a little less than nothing, or possibly a gift, I don't know how we obtain that,
Yeah.
then that's where you go there to serve that. Is it an ideal situation? No, but probably back in the, I don't know, I'm just making up dates, in the 80s or 90s, that was probably an ideal situation because it's in the center of town. City of Portland had an opportunity to partner there, so that's why we took advantage of that partnership there. And there's 2 trucks because that serves a wide part of the county and even goes over into Robertson County.
Do we own the White House Volunteer Fire Department building? Is that something we could expand on instead of building a new facility? Is that something we've explored?
I don't know. That would be something that we would need to reach out to legal and have them find out who owns where's the deed and all that for those volunteer fire departments.
Do we have a list of county
I was trying to
properties?
answer her question.
Oh,
Hang on just a second.
That,
So I would ask that,
if we could, Mr. Hall.
so you're asking to see who owns all volunteer fire departments?
Yeah,
Where-
I'd
where
like
the
to
deeds
understand,
are?
especially with White House, as we're looking at this new facility that we're talking about there, if it's, what is the feasibility of it? Is it great to build a new building, or if we own a building already and haven't laid eyes on it? Mary, you said you've laid eyes on it. Daryl, I assume you've laid eyes on it. Is that if we owned it, is that something we could expand on and make it better? I'm just looking for ideas like that. If we've
Instead of building
explored
a
that.
brand new one, add on to an original building, like
Right.
an addition, which would cost a lot less, but my question is, well, he's got his hand up, obviously.
No, go ahead.
If we open up correct me if I'm wrong, each EMS station is about $1 million in the budget, right? So
Well,
you're per
today, but
year.
who knows what the concrete may be,
Right,
still
but
maybe
per
6
year, I'm
months.
talking
Yeah.
about operation.
Right.
It's probably more
So
than that.
that'd be another $1 million to add to the EMS's budget rate for the additional
25, 26.
fire, emergency services.
It's probably more like 1.3, 1.5.
Yeah, somewhere around that ballpark. But my question is that, the feasibility study, I don't know if I missed it or missed that conversation when I stepped out, but in relationship to Millersville and White House and Portland, what is the feasibility of, right now you're being served by Robertson County, am I correct? For EMS?
Part of it is, yeah.
Part of it, and the other part is Portland?
Well, no.
Uh,
That's crazy as it goes down through there. Our house, what we call the house, is in the Robertson County side, so they have to come over into
Right.
Sumner County when they get the calls.
Okay,
And then Portland crosses over into Robertson to serve the industrial park and 65 and 31 if they're closer than Robertson County is.
but I thought we had a mutual understanding that we were gonna help each other out, and, why would we need to build a new building, my question.
Well, obviously, there's growth in that area. And
Right.
if it's me personally, if it's our paramedics, I'd like to have them on our side. And then that gives all the growth in that area a chance to have the coverage that they need, since it's their tax dollars paying for it.
So that's another $1 million, though, $1 million plus that we would be adding to the taxpayers.
Well, it's a lot.
It is.
It is. But when the schools are taking 80 cents, we can trim that a little bit. That helps. But, the sad part of it is, it's a service. And I've always said, and will always continue to say, a service is never gonna be profitable, I don't think.
No, I've seen the ambulances sitting in the little drive spots out towards Castilian Springs. There's a standby little
Mhm.
driveway, they sit there. So, okay, I'm just
You're
trying to
fine.
understand and how much, the feasibility is what I'm asking.
And it's like I said earlier, it's a moving target. You
Yeah.
may have a great, pretty picture on paper that White House and Millersville and Portland is all sitting pretty for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And then you've got a crash on 65 and your Portland units have to come down and help, or your Robinson units have to help, and your Millersville units has to go up and help. And then you're left with all that empty again.
Right.
And you only have one unit in Portland that's gotta cover all the way over to Oak Grove. And then you pull your Gallatin unit from Airport Road to stand by at the top of the ridge to cover that gap that's in that service area
Is the city
there.
of White House gonna help pay? Because we'll be servicing the other side of the city of White House, because they're technically building up there. Do you see what I mean?
I don't think any cities pay for ambulance service in the county. Commissioner Jones?
I just want to refer back to a comment that Commissioner Boyd made earlier, her question. And I'll direct the question to the chair. If you know, that's fine, but if not, if we could ask the mayor. The question was asked back in September of '22 or October of '22 for a list of county-owned properties, and I still don't think we have that. And that would be very helpful in these conversations to know which buildings we own to be able to put ambulances in the future or build onto. Is that something that you know of that we have yet, or am I wrong on that?
If I can,
Commissioner Klein has something on that.
okay, I was gonna try to answer the question first, thanks. We have the list, and if I think I remember correctly, that's when all this, the home safe issue came about,
Mhm.
and we was talking about redaction of that, but I believe that's right. That we did have that list, and I think, we've asked for it again in, legislative to make sure that it's a complete list. And I think also, we've asked for a list of fire departments, and I believe we've got those as well back August or September, I believe.
So we do have them now?
I believe that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner
Well,
Klein?
so her question can be answered for next month, possibly, if we own that that
Mr. Klein.
White House?
That's why I
General
referred
Ops
to leave.
determined that we owned 5 out of the, I believe, 16 volunteer fire department buildings. Only 5.
You know which ones?
Yeah, I do. Station VF6 in Gallatin. Station VF, I guess both of those are VF6s. Highland Fire Department on Broadway Street. And then the Resource Authority owns, I believe that's Oak Grove. And Sumner County owns
So is that,
Shackle Island.
is the Resource Authority owned by the county, or? I mean,
Yeah, ultimately, I believe.
That's ours. the
It
Oak Grove
is?
station.
Okay.
Thank you.
So not the White House?
So not the White House, so that's easy enough. That's that answer.
The other thing I was gonna ask was, going forward, I think it would be wise if we determined, how we do expand. I think it's very, generous of Goodlettsville to offer to do this. I don't know if anybody's ever offered to do it first, but the fact that they're willing to pay for the housing of the EMS crew and build the bay for it, seems like that would be the reasonable way to proceed with growth. Their community's getting the benefit of county services wherever it's at, and if it's in a city limits zone, I think the city ought to pay for the housing of the actual vehicle and the EMS crew. I think we should have a standard on that, so that we're not caught in something like what happened with the fight between Hendersonville and Portland, and who funds this, and giving half, county giving half the money for building a new firehouse to one community, but not another one, and picking winners and losers. I don't think that's right. I would hope that we could figure out a way to set a standard if we're going to do this.
I don't know how this fits into our discussion, but I also come back to the acronyms. The ALS, I think we're clear on that, all right?
Yeah, now.
And the
yeah.
BLS, okay. We've talked a lot about the ALS. You've mentioned the emergencies out on the highways. We're having accidents and stuff. But do we also consider the BLS? Like, where are the nursing homes that we're actually providing services and moving their patients for dialysis or whatever? Do we have that covered? And I know that I've asked about how many private companies we have in the county that's providing that service. I know that we're providing it. I don't know how many others are providing it. But it seems like as we take on this task of seeing, where we're going to move for our future planning and expenses and budgeting, which I like to talk about budgeting a lot. that piece needs to be brought to the table also, to make sure that we have adequate coverage for all the areas, both ALS and BLS. I just want to bring that up, and I don't know how it fits in. I do want to know how many private services we have, and if we have enough coverage.
So if we can, y'all have that information. All right, you want to suspend the rules so you can ask the chief?
Sure.
Motion to suspend the rules.
So we got a motion. I have a second. Commissioner Harris, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, chief.
Okay, so the question is, how many private services do we have supporting us? So currently, there are two other licensed private services in the county. One is First Call, and one is AmeriMed. And so they take primarily calls that may originate in our county, but are going outside of our county. So we handle most everything that we can with our convalescent BLS division. We keep those in county, so we're not running to Nashville as much or to Murfreesboro. We do some of that work, but our primary goal is to handle everything that's staying inside the county, while those other agencies are taking the patients further away, servicing them to wherever they need to go. So there are others that run inside the county, but maybe because the call originated in Nashville and they're coming to Gallatin for a doctor's appointment, or it come from Lebanon to Nashville. So we don't know about patients coming in the county for treatment. But anything that originates in the county and is going to a destination in the county, we try to handle that ourselves with our BLS division.
How many years have we had two private companies?
First Call's been here 7 or 8 years. They've always been around. So there was a resolution back some 15 years ago or so where we put some stipulations on who could come and operate in Sumner County. You have to have a brick and mortar building. You have to have training to make sure that they're up to standards so that our citizens are receiving the care they need. So I think it's about 15 years ago that we brought those in.
So both have been here 7 to 8 years?
They have been, along with others before that, but there's been several private services within the county over the years.
Does that help relieve your staffing issues?
No, ma'am, they do not, they don't respond to any emergencies in the county. We don't call them, except maybe for like the tornado. If we didn't have to this time, but if we had depleted our services, we would reach out to them for backup. But they don't respond to any of our emergent calls.
And if I can bring it down to my level, because I'm not in your field, they're like an Uber.
An Uber?
They go and pick up the nursing home patient and take them to dialysis and back?
They do some of that work. They will take patients from hospitals here in the county to higher level of care, say a bigger hospital in Nashville or some specialty center. So they are EMTs and AMTs and paramedics on those ambulances as well. We don't always know which level they're at, but they do have medical training, each and every one of them do.
I know from personal experience, not my family, but they may take them to chemo down at Big Station. I mean, they may take them over in Steam Plant.
And I'm not trying to belittle the services, it's just, it's a trend.
No, it's.
I just wanted to understand.
They're not running to work a wreck with our guys.
And they're scheduled out.
Right, they're mostly pre-scheduled calls, other than a discharge out of a hospital to.
You have questions
wherever
for
they-
Chief?
Maybe for you, but I'm gonna let you defer to him.
Okay.
You done?
Thank you.
So are they more profitable to run the private ones than ours? Like, we're losing money
I don't
on
know.
our
Let's
services.
stay on topic.
Well, just because of this, I just wondered if they're making a lot more money, why aren't we just doing that and using our ambulances to make those calls and actually generating money?
So I'll answer your question the best I can. If you've got two people that's running a BLS truck, we just heard Commissioner Janung say that's gonna be another $1 million times 3. So then you're gonna have however many calls First Call is running, and the other company is running. You're gonna have that much more staff on your county, and you're gonna have that many more trucks on your county fleet. So I think,
But the fact that they're doing it private means they're making money at it. We're
is that
not
something you
making
want to
money.
explore?
That's what I'm just asking, if it is that they're making money, I'd like to
But we're
know how
looking at
much money.
service, I'm trying to
we
keep
could
you on
look for a way
track.
to
We're
fund
looking on,
ambulances.
service areas, and you're looking at profit and revenue. So
This would be
that's,
a way to fund more ambulances, is what I'm getting at, and dual purpose, things like that. If we can generate more money out of our ambulance we can provide more ambulances. So that's why I'm trying to stay with that topic, to try to figure out a way to have more ambulances.
So are you talking about building a division for just transport?
Just
working on-
exploring the idea. If somebody knows the numbers, I just would like them to explain that. Just came to my mind. We don't have to go off on a rabbit trail. I just thought I'd mention it. If somebody knows of something, they can bring it to us later, or.
Well, why don't you stay in contact with me if you've got something you want to add to next month's agenda? You get with First Call and try to get some numbers from them, and then bring it back to this committee.
Yeah, I don't know how else to ask it, just like that. I mean,
No,
if
that's what
somebody
I'm
else
saying.
has more
That's-
information, I don't know what else to say. It just seemed like a worthwhile endeavor for,
Well,
we don't have to talk about it anymore.
They're also
but I mean, if
driven
you're
by
wanting-
like 10 Care. The
what I
facilities
searched.
have their contracts with them.
it's their billing too, how they bill on the backside,
Right.
and it's.
I understand that. It's a different kind of call. I get
Correct.
that. I get that. But it's still an ambulance and trained people, which we have.
Right.
We just need more of, and run a different way. So, anyway.
No, I mean, and again, if that's something that you want to explore, then, and it's something you, when you call First Call or then the other company and you say, hey, I've got their numbers, let's put this on the agenda, I'll be more than happy to put it on the
It'd be
agenda.
difficult to look at somebody we're trying to possibly infringe on their business, but our guys may know those numbers, and that's why I was going to mention it.
Well, respectfully, they don't have our numbers tonight for profits, so they probably aren't gonna know First Call's numbers, but we can ask them. If y'all know First Call's numbers, profit margin.
Doubt that they're a private agency, I don't
Right.
know that they're gonna give us that,
So-
they're probably not.
I might have some numbers. I can bring them.
So why don't you get with Commissioner Jones, sorry, but
Yeah,
I
no, I
mean,
can
we're
do that.
on an hour and
I
45
understand it
minutes of
wasn't an
running
item on
rabbits.
here, but I got some numbers. I can work with Commissioner Jones. But we can't work outside of our committee table. So, but I can share resources.
We're not voting on anything. It's just something to think about,
So you're
proposing to
I can point him in the right
people
direction.
later.
That's all I was asking. And
Yes,
if it's
sir.
something you wanna put back on the agenda, let's just let me know and we'll get it on the agenda. Let's go back under the rules, Commissioner Harris.
Now, we're talking about the buildings, right?
I don't know where we're
I
at,
think
sir.
that's where we were.
We're just running around.
Commissioner Jones had said something a while ago that sort of rose a question in my mind. You had said that the city should be responsible for the ambulances that we're putting in those.
I'm not, not sure if I said should, but I think it looks like a good option. Goodlettsville saw the benefit of it, and I'm wondering why other cities don't see that also. The fact that their citizens are going to be taken care of by county ambulances, we're providing, a service to them, and they're getting the benefit of having it right there in their town versus somewhere else.
But those
It seems
residents that
mutually
live in that
beneficial.
county pay county taxes.
Right, it's mutually beneficial.
So they should pay for the ambulance twice, is that what you're saying?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
That they should pay for it twice? If the city residents is having to pay for the ambulance being there, and then they're already paying county taxes for an ambulance, they're paying for it twice.
No, they could pay for it once and it could go somewhere else, but to have the benefit of it being right there in their city versus on the edge of the city or somewhere where we pick to put it, I think it's mutually beneficial to have it there. I mean, it's gonna be servicing their parks and fields and things like that. I think it's a good idea to explore. The city of Goodlettsville proposed it to us. This is not something I'm saying. I'm crediting them with that and saying it's a great idea.
But I may be misunderstanding you. Are you saying that the taxpayers in these municipalities should have to fund for those ambulances to go on those stations?
No.
That's not what you're saying?
It's not apples
Well,
to
I'm glad.
apples. It's not
I'm glad
apples
that's not
to,
what you're
it's
saying.
not apples
'Cause
to
that's how I
apples
took it.
comparison.
Okay.
No.
All right.
County's much bigger than the city. It'd be divided up a lot, yeah. It's not, they wouldn't have to pay for it now.
Okay,
The whole county would
okay. I'm glad I
half
was.
pay for it and the city would pay for the bay.
All right, so let's go back in here. New business EMS stations, locations, and service areas. Do we have anything that we need to add or delete or move forward for that, or can we let that go to old business for next month?
I make a motion, we put it till next month.
We'll just let it roll, if that's all right. So, yeah, and then I will reach out to Gilletsville to see what their intent is on that, and bring that report back next month. There's one final thing on the agenda, I
Motion to
believe, unless
adjourn.
everybody else has something.
Motion adjourned.
So, thank you.